How's it going, guys? Cody back again, dropping yet another video. Right, guys, this is a tragic suicide of a Scottish teenager by the name of William Lindsay. God bless William Lindsay, may he rest in peace, little man. This is a story in the Scotsman, failing after failing here, guys. Vulnerable teenager, guys, put in prison on remand and took his own life just 48 hours into his sentence. Anyway, the headline reads, "Teenager flagged as suicide risk, takes his life after 48 hours in prison." A vulnerable teenage boy killed himself at Polmont Young Offenders Institution within 48 hours of being remanded despite having been flagged up as a suicide risk, the Scotsman can reveal. A 16-year-old boy killed himself at Polmont Young Offenders Institution in Falkirk within 48 hours of being remanded there despite having been flagged up as a suicide risk, the Scotsman can reveal. Now, they've repeated the same thing twice there, but I'm going to carry on. It's understood that the Scottish Children's Reporter Administration and Glasgow's Chief Social Worker Officer had wanted William Lindsay, also known as Brown, to be put in a secure unit, but there were no places available. The SCRA had also wanted the case against Lindsay, who spent his life in and out of care, to be kept within the children's hearing system because of his vulnerability, but was overruled by the Crown Office. As a result, he had appeared before Glasgow's Sheriff Court on Thursday, the 4th of October, charged with the possession of a knife, assault and breach of the peace. The Sheriff remanded him to Polmont, where he was found dead the following Sunday. William's suicide has caused widespread concern within the SCRA, Glasgow City Council and the Scottish Prison Service and the Scottish Government. "This boy should never have been anywhere near Polmont," one source said. "He was vulnerable and in need of mental health support. How is it possible for everybody to agree that a 16-year-old should not to go to jail and yet for him to still end up in jail?" Last week, Lindy and Stuart Allen called for a review for the way the mental health is handled within the prison system after their daughter killed herself in Polmont. At a press conference, they claimed Katie Allen, God bless Katie Allen, may she rest in peace, had been bullied by other prisoners and repeatedly strip searched by staff who failed to notice or act on her self-harming wounds. Katie, who had been convicted of causing serious injury by dangerous driving whilst over the drink-drive limit, she was jailed for 16 months despite a social work report recommending a non-custodial sentence, and killed herself in June. Two other young men, Liam Kerr and Robert Wagstaff, took their own lives in the prison in January 2017. God bless Liam Kerr and God bless Robert Wagstaff. Thoughts and prayers are still with your family. All the deaths will be subject of a mandatory fatal accident inquiry, but that could take up to 4 years. Brown's death raises fresh concerns about the treatment of prisoners in Polmont and the implementation of the Scottish Prison Service updated suicide prevention strategy. Talk to me. "The suicide of this young boy reinforces everything we want to change," said Linda. "In some ways it's even more appalling than Katie's because it happened so soon after he was imprisoned, because he hadn't yet been convicted and because he was already been identified as a suicide risk prior to going into custody. William's death also raises questions about the provision of secure unit places for young people at risk from themselves or posing risk to others. There are just 5 secure centres in Scotland, offering a total of 84 places. One of these centres is run by Edinburgh City Council. The 4 others are run by an independent charitable organisations. These centres, the Good Shepherd Secure Unit in Bishton, Kibble Safe Centre in Paisley, Rossi Farm Secure Unit in Montrose and St Mary's Secure Unit in Kenyor, I hope I pronounced that right, as part of the national contract framework managed by Scotland's Excel on behalf of the Scottish Government and the 32 Scottish local authorities. Controversially, a substantial portion of places are taken by children from English local authorities due to a lack of capacity south of the border and a reduction in their use up here. According to the Centre for Youth and Criminal Justice, the most recent figures show placements from outside Scotland accounted for 30% of the total in 2016 to 2017. Another unit built at St Philip's School in Airdrie with a £5 million of public money was closed in 2011, just after 5 years after it opened. Brown, who was first moved into foster care when he was 4, had a history of self-harming, including suicide attempts. Although he'd been in trouble with the past, he had moved back in with his mother and life was stabilising. But on October the 2nd, he walked into Saracen Police Station with a knife. There is no denying that this was a serious offence, a source said. But William was always more of a danger to himself than other people. The staff at Polmont were warned it was likely he would kill himself. It is terrible to think he did so within such a short time period. The problem for Scottish Excel is that north of the border the number of referrals to secure units is dropping, making it difficult to justify expanding the service. This is partly due to the cost. Basic care in a unit works out at about $5,500 a week, but it's also due to a belief that in general secure units are not ideal for young people. Yet experts insist it's better for vulnerable young people charged with an offence to be placed in a secure unit than a jail, 100%. Linda and Stuart's solicitor, Amar Anwar, is now representing William's mother, Christine. What we've been talking about these last few months was the need to ensure that no mother ever had to go through what Linda has had to go through. Yet here we are again in the same prison, a young boy who shouldn't ever have been there has killed himself, which can only be described as a state-sanctioned violence, he said. I'm sick of reading report after report, fatal accident injury inquiries after fatal accident inquiries that offer sympathies to those families and do nothing to change the system. A spokesman for the SCRA said the SCRA and the COPS, which is the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Services, easy for me to say, work closer together to ensure that young people involved in offending behaviour receive the most appropriate intervention. We are always concerned to ensure that young people can be retained and have access to the welfare-based protections and support the children's hearing system wherever possible. Our work with the social work services throughout the country is a key feature of the provision of this welfare-based approach. We are deeply concerned about the circumstances of any young person who has taken their own life in this way, and will continue to work with our partners to ensure that such circumstances can be avoided and young people are given the support and help they need at the point when they need it. The availability of secure care beds in Scotland is an ongoing issue, and we look forward to supporting the next round of commissioning with secure providers in Scotland to ensure that this is a very specialist support unit which is routinely available. In terms of what happened to William in Polmont, it is understood the standards procedures would have been for him to have been assessed by a mental health nurse to decide how he should be managed and what level of intervention was required. Responsibility for the healthcare inside Scotland's jail was transferred from the SBS to the NHS in 2011. A Scottish Prison Service spokesman said, "I can confirm a DIPLA or a death in prison learning, audit and review will take place. And like every other prisoner in custody, with every other death in custody, Williams was subject to a fatal accident inquiry, which we will fully cooperate." The alternative in the UK, guys, is a prison probation ombudsman investigation. The Crown's office approach towards under 18s in the justice system is to stick with the children's hearing system unless there's a compelling reason to do so otherwise. For example, a risk to the public and disregard for the law. A spokesman said the investigation of the death of William Brown or William Lindsay is ongoing and is understood under the direction of the Scottish Fatalities Investigation Unit. There will be a mandatory FAI in due course once investigations are complete. The family will be kept updated in relation to any significant developments. Likewise, a spokesman for Glasgow, can't get through this, guys, it's a long read and my focus isn't the best. So, Health and Care Social Partnership said, "We have been made aware of the tragic death of this young person. We will contribute to act as appropriately to any review of the circumstances that led to his death." Linda and Stuart and Anwar are due to see Justice Secretary Humza Yousaf on Tuesday and plans to raise William's death as well as Katie's. The Scottish Government is currently looking at ways to improve the recording the number and distribution approaches to the secure accommodation network and the reasons given for refused placements. The current contract runs until March the 31st, 2020, with the next round of commissioning due to commence in April 19. The Scottish Government spokesman said, "We recognise many young people entering the criminal justice system may have complex needs and we will work with agencies to ensure appropriate support is available when needed. Good quality secure care which helps improve outcomes for children with a highly complex needs to allow them to re-engage and move forward positively in the community are needed in some cases, not some cases, all cases. It is for the sheriffs to decide whether or not to commit someone or not to custody, having considered representations for relevant agencies. Shadow Justice Secretary Daniel Johnson has contacted Allens to offer support. This is the second high-profile case that comes to the public's attention within a month, and seems clear to me that we have to look at serious look at the standards of mental health support and counselling in our justice system. So there appear to be clear problems emerging following the transfer of responsibilities from the prison service to the NHS, he said. It is the case that if a young person is found himself in Polmont because of a lack of secure beds, that would be completely unacceptable. I'm sorry, guys, I wasn't the best at reading that story. my focus started going halfway through. And it was badly written as well. Some of the words were misspelled, actually. But overall, it was a good article. You've got to think, right, this young man, this William Lindsay, or William Brown as he was also known, picture of him you can see at the start, young lad, not had the best start in life. The fact that he ended up in care at the age of 4 years old, guys, this is a common feature for people that end up in prison, whether it be young offenders or whether it be an adult prison, is we've not had the best start in life. Before we was ever offenders, we was first victims. This young lad, obviously growing up in care doesn't help anybody at all, right? You might think it's like, obviously you can't, if your parents are abusing you, or you've been deemed where they can't safeguard you and you're taken and put into care, it's not always the best, because you might go with a family and it doesn't gel, and then they hand it back, and then he ends up in a kid's home and stuff, and he's passed from pillar to post, to be honest. The best place to be for someone in general, unless there's reasons not to be, is with their parents. But obviously we know there's a lot of shit parents out there. The fact he went into a police station with a knife and was waving this knife around in the police station, to me, you want the honest truth, sounds like a cry for help. The fact is, this lad, it sounds like this children hearing is like, it's like a court for children. But the Crown Prosecution Service in Scotland, or the Crown's office, they decided to put him forward before the sheriff. Ultimately, he paid with his life, which is sad and tragic, and my thoughts are with the little man. Like I say, he eventually went back to his mother, but he'd grown up in care, the damage was already done. It's a sad and tragic case. My thoughts and prayers are with him. God bless Kate Allen's family as well. Her circumstances were different. She was drunk. She got behind the wheel when she was 20. She hit somebody. It left a 15-year-old lad in a broken arm and a few other scrapes and stuff. She made off from the scene. She was sent to prison. I believe she should have been sent to prison. Her parents believe that she was targeted unnecessarily when she was coming off visits and stuff. She was strip searched. When I was in Forest Bank for the first time, I was strip searched every time I came off a visit. So was a lot of other prisoners. So I don't think it was targeted, but they feel like she was targeted, but I understand. But the fact that they've had to bury Katie, and Katie sought to take her own life. She developed alopecia. She lost 80% of her hair through bullying and stuff like that. Prisons are a horrendous place to be. I don't glamorise it to anybody. Psychologically, it brings you to your knees. Everyone. We do the whole macho thing, oh, prison doesn't bother us and stuff like that. Prison gets to everyone. Anyone that says they've been to prison, haven't got depression or contemplated suicide or even cried, are liars, because it affects everybody. Big lads, I'm a big lad. I'll admit that I cried myself to sleep on a few occasions. I didn't think I was getting out of prison. Prison puts you under duress and stress that you can't know about unless you've been in prison. The only people that can relate to that is actually prisoners' families, because prisoners' girlfriends, prisoners' wives, prisoners' families, if you get a prison sentence, they serve the same sentence. They just do it in the community. When you're up, they're up. When you're down, they're down. They're the ones that are running around for you. They're the ones that are travelling the length and breadth of the country on visits and stuff. But the thing is, this young man had serious mental health issues, and he tragically paid with his life just 48 hours into a sentence at Polmont prison. Will there be lessons learned about this, about the death of young William Lindsay or William Brown? No. Our lives are disposable to the government, and the fact that there's 30% of the secure accommodation up there, which is an alternative to prison for children, is 30% of it is covered with English prisoners, because obviously Scotland's a smaller country than ours, and obviously they've got their prison populations dramatically reduced. I think they've got about 8,000 in their prison system, where we've got 84,000 here in the UK. I think we can hold up to about 86,000. Anyway, guys, going to leave this video here. God bless the little man, William Lindsay or William Brown. Thoughts and prayers with you. Kate Allen's family, keep up the fight. God bless Kate Allen, may she rest in peace. Leave it there, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.